How much have you sold in real estate?
We've done over $1 billion in sales.
$1 billion in sales. Like, how many square feet? Like, how big was that?
It's about 250,000 feet.
That's humongous. We're about to meet the $1 billion broker that sold over $1 billion in real estate. I mean, this guy is the vending machine of not $100 bills, but $1 million bills. Literally, he puts all the developers and local investors on so that they can build wealth by doing deals like this. Let's go. Hey, excuse me, sir. Hey, are you the guy that did this deal, brokered this deal?
Yeah, we put it together.
How much have you sold in real estate?
We've done over $1 billion in sales.
$1 billion in sales? Like, how does one do that?
You gotta be dependable like the sunrise.
Well, how so?
You gotta get up early, you gotta make your phone calls, you gotta talk to people, you gotta make sure you're adding value every day.
Like, how many people are you calling a day?
50, 75, you gotta have 10 conversations a day.
10 conversations a day, and from that, those conversations are your lead source to get all these deals?
Yeah, you gotta make sure you're talking to the right people.
Doing those lead generation, those phone calls, this is how you found this deal? Well, technically this deal didn't look like this.
No, this was a vacant, dead shopping center at the time.
How many square feet? Like, how big was that?
It's about 250,000 feet.
Like, how big is 250,000 square feet?
It's about 4.5 football fields.
That's humongous. What happened to the buildings? Like, why did they demo it?
Well, you know, real estate has a useful life cycle, and that center had, you know, lived through its term. The highest and best use for the property was to redevelop it into a beautiful 360 unit apartment community.
Well, will it be all right if we did a tour?
Yeah, let's go see it.
So how much is this building worth?
Somewhere just shy of 100 million.
How much are they going to be all in this for?
About 50 million.
What do you mean? They're going to net like $50 million?
Well, they're going to make a nice profit at the end of the day.
I mean, you really are like a vending machine that instead of hundreds, you print millions, bro. Like, so what is 50 million, 100 million? How many units does that buy you?
This is 361 brand new Class A, beautiful apartment unit.
Wow. And this is ground up new construction.
That's right.
Are all deals always this successful?
No.
So you found this deal doing your lead generation, doing your 10 daily calls.
Yeah.
And
conversations, not calls.
Okay, there you go. Calls ain't good.
No.
You ain't talking because you could call.
You can call as much as you want, but if you're not talking to anybody, it doesn't make any difference.
You did your conversations.
Yeah.
You find this deal just a little over 5 million, or maybe they're asking more. Did you list it, or you went up? Did you like, I know who to call? Like,
well, it was a combination of the two. It took a little while to actually get the deal to a listing. The developer who actually ended up getting the deal.
Oh, so it just didn't happen overnight. Like, hey, you want to sell?
No.
How many times did you have to talk to the person?
About 2 years of flirting with them until he finally said, all right, let's do it.
Is it worth 2 years of calls to generate 50 million?
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
But it wasn't like that. You were just focused on selling it, or did you have the idea how you wanted to develop?
It's funny because like I drove by this all the time and I was like, that would make a great development site. And then like a month later, I got a call. It was like, hey, I've got this deal, this vacant shopping center. I was like, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I'm like, let's go. And that's how it got started. You know, I made a couple of quick calls to, you know, select developers and,
so you immediately went to a developer. You didn't go to like a apartment guy or somebody's trying to do a 4-family. You went straight out.
Yeah, you got to make sure you're talking to the right people to get the deal done. You know, somebody that has owned and operated a, you know, 70 unit deal for 20 years is not going to buy a vacant shopping center and turn it into this.
So you find somebody to buy it, but how long did that take? You said 2 months, you get a call in 2 months. Was there like a due diligence phase? Like,
oh yeah. Well, so, you know, we had the one developer who was going back and forth with it. I thought we had a deal a couple of times, and then the seller was like, no, let's take it to market. And it's like, all right. So now we extend the time frame even more. You know, we had a competitive bidding process, and it ended up that the original buyer was the highest and best price in terms.
Oh, so he didn't like that initial offer. That's how most of them.
Yeah.
So basically, and as a broker of your capacity, done over $1 billion in deals, You don't list properties?
Well, I mean, you always try and push for a listing because then you can.
Well, let me say that you don't do like put it on the MLS.
No,
it's a straight email or buyer's list.
You've got to earn your way in to get that call.
The guy pays $5 million. He puts everything together. He's got construction costs of what, $42 million.
Yeah.
Then you got like soft costs, soft and hard, like carrying costs, interest, etc. So he's all in for 50. I mean, I get it, but why not keep it?
Well, you know, he's got investors in the deal. I'm an investor in the deal, and you've got to do what's right for your investors.
So making 50 million is right. Like, how did you do this? Like, how do you get started doing deals like this? Like, were you born rich?
No, I wasn't. I grew up in a small town in New England. You know, my mom was a residential agent. I saw what she was able to do, but unfortunately she passed when I was 14, so.
Really, 14?
Yeah.
How did that affect you, man?
It was not fun, you know. The first of many trials I've had.
Was it just you and your dad?
Me, my dad, and my sister. You know, you just deal with it. I poured myself into sports, and that is probably what helped get me through it, because I would line up against guys. And
what were you playing, man? You're kind of a big guy. I don't know, but I don't know if you were that big and sexy before, man.
I've always had some size. Playing football, I'd line up against guys and I'd be like, you're the reason that she's gone, and I'm going to kill you for it.
Well, but like, you coached lacrosse, you coached all these kids.
Yeah.
Did you play lacrosse as well?
I did, yeah. Played football, wrestling, lacrosse. Kept myself busy. Stay out of trouble that way.
So, mom died 14, went off. Like, how'd you get started in real estate?
So, you know, I read The Art of the Deal, and I was like, oh, commercial real estate's a thing, because I didn't want to drive people around in my minivan on the weekend.
What, you had the Astro van?
She had a Dodge Caravan, you know, town and country sort of thing. I went to Boston for a year. I networked, cold called my way to just get meetings and appointments. And, you know, if you didn't go to BC and play hockey, good luck, you're not getting in. So I always wanted to be in California and be in commercial real estate. So I packed up my stuff and moved to Santa Barbara, where my mom's family's from. And that's where I got in. I did the same thing. I found a shop. I said, hey, this is what I want to do. I showed up with all my books and material and said, let's go.
And then how'd you end up in Cincinnati?
Well, you know, I started and got my license in February of 2008. And it just wasn't a great time to start.
Oh, in 2008, the Great Reset. That was the perfect time to get started.
Yeah.
Getting to $1 billion was pretty easy, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, we had syndicated a couple of deals.
When you say syndicate, what does that mean?
So we had raised investor capital to go and buy a 33 unit and then a 40 unit. 2 different partnerships, 2 different deals. And I found an opportunity here in town, and I was like, wow, that's a 25 cap. And I was like, that's amazing.
And 25 cap, will you explain it? Like, so when you do a 25 cap range, basically how they determine. So if you pay cash for something, that means you can make, you saying a 25, you can make 25% on your money if you don't.
Year over year.
Yeah. But cap rates are now at 25%. Back in the day, you can find a 10 or 15 cap easy.
Yeah.
You still probably find a 10 to 12 cap, but not so much. Everything's selling for like 5 to 8 cap. I don't care, across the board, hotels, apartments, retail. Here's the crazy thing, 2,000 units sounds big, but the reality of it, only technically 400 would be mine, right? Because you're syndicating you.
Right.
If you're the main GP, you're only gonna get like 12 to 18%. Let's just say 300 units, that nets at least, $100 a unit after everything debt. It's $30,000 a month.
A great deal to have.
Right, and then you got your other income, but everything we do is gonna steady rise. Like, every 3 or 4 years, you're going to increase by $100.
Yep.
So at some point, that 30 is going to turn into 100 grand a month.
Well, then you cash out and you have more cash to work with. And
this the infinite money tree.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, you plant that seed, You plan it by buying it, renovating it, nurturing it by doing the maintenance, and then you just watch it grow. This wealth is the family tree that shades your family's wealth, right? And protects them. It's the umbrella. So for somebody starting off, whether they want to be a broker or whether to be a developer, what advice would you give them?
Well, you can't email your way to success. You got to STP, see the property, see the people.
After COVID, we were so used to just having meetings and virtual and not being around and touching, feeling people.
Yeah.
You're saying now you got to get on the phone.
Real estate's a contact sport. You got to get out there and get in front of people.
Really?
See them face to face.
But in order to get in the arena, get in the game, you got to get out there and meet the people.
Yeah, because, you know, if you're just another voice on the other end of the phone, who are you, right? You want to know who you're dealing with on the other side, in the same way that I want to know who's the guy on the other end of the phone.
Were you a people person? Is this like, did you have to grow into that, or that was just your natural?
So the first job I got in sales, it was selling Cutco knives. I sold knives for a summer, and it was the greatest job. I got to set my schedule. I'd still sell Cutco if it made enough money. You know, from there, I sold motorcycles, and so, you know, I get young people saying, hey, how do I get into commercial real estate? And it's like, well, if you want to be a broker, go sell something. Go get some real world life experience. Prove that you can do it. Because, you know, a lot of these young brokers, they get lost in their spreadsheet. And
for sure.
What I mean by that is, you know, they come in, you know, all full of excitement and, oh, I'm gonna make 100 calls a day. And then what happens is they actually get somebody on the phone and they don't know what to say.
They fumble.
Yeah, they're not good on their feet. So they're like, okay, well, I need to know everything about this particular owner before I make a call. So they spend, you know, 5 to 15 minutes prepping for the call, and then it goes to voicemail. Just pick up the phone.
Start talking.
Yeah, and then when you get somebody on the line, you just need to be educated enough where you can know what you're talking about. But the only way to do that is by fumbling your way through the first couple. And it takes 2 years at least to build a practice. Even if you join a team, it takes at least a year to get up to speed and proficient.
How long have you been a broker now?
Almost 20 years.
So now the year's 2025 and the shift has came.
That's right.
You're moving away from being a broker to buying for yourself and doing some development.
That's right. Yeah. So, you know, I caught the development bug, so to speak, from working on this project, actually. I learned so much.
Yeah, $50 million might do that too.
About site selection and performing rents, building models, and just how do you do it? And so I said, well, let's go do it on my own. And, you know, nobody was going to hire me to do it. So I figured I'd go do it myself.
And then you created a tool that helps you find off-market, like you're the king of off-market deals. You will find a deal using software, you'll have the deal and you sold it. And like I said, you were the vending machine that gave away millions of dollars. Now you're going to keep the vending machine to yourself?
We're going to use it for our benefit, yeah.
How do you use that to find deals?
Yeah, so it's called Needle AI, and what we've done is we've cataloged the entire country, 50 units and up, and we're looking at different metrics, rental rates, occupancies, loan maturities, ownership behavior patterns, and saying, okay, well, if you've got 20 properties, and if I call you and I say, hey, Mike, do you want to sell any of your properties? It's an immediate no. I had owners on the phone, and I'm showing them the product, and it's like, all right, well, let's see what you have. And lo and behold, they'll have 2-3 deals that they're like, yeah, we are thinking about selling. And it's like, I knew it.
So what makes Needle AI so special? I mean, what makes it better than CoStar?
Well, CoStar is like Wikipedia for commercial real estate. It's just, here's all the properties. But what we're saying is, here's all the properties, and we think these ones are most likely to transact.
Your technology takes in consideration everything that property has going on. Year, they was bought, when the loans.
Yeah, how long they've held it, what their typical hold pattern is, when the loan is maturing, how they're faring versus their competitors.
Oh, it literally studies their behavior too.
100%.
That's crazy.
How the subject property is doing versus its competitor set. So like if you had a deal that was bought on a value add and somebody renovated it, and you see that their pattern is to sell in 3 to 5 years, and we're in year 5 and they haven't sold it yet, well, hey, Mr. Owner, time's ticking. Let's go.
So you were afraid and you did $1 billion worth of transactions. You saw multiple people do deals. You saw us make millions. You made people millionaires.
You know, imposter syndrome. Not everybody, but you know, successful people have it, and it's a real thing. And you know, it's also like, well, you set a goal. Like my goal was to be the managing director of a national multifamily investment sale firm. And I kind of achieved it at the first shop, and then I got to the next one and I achieved it again, and then finally got to my last firm, and I was like, I'm there. This is it. This is great. So you're kind of chasing that goal, and you know, you're so involved in doing other people's deals that you don't have the opportunity to do your own.
So you provided a service for so long.
Yeah.
Now it's time to serve you and your own family.
That's right.
But how do you overcome these hurdles, right? Because everybody thinks investing in yourself is so easy.
It takes a team. It takes a village. Like I had a brokerage team, you know, on my development deal, taking inspiration from our partners. If you surround yourself with good people and let them do what they do best, things are going to generally work out.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's so true. Like your network is your network. You're the sum of the 5 people you're around.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the people I was around, I wouldn't be where I am. I got in the jam and I wasn't calling my mama or my friends to get me out.
Yeah.
I needed to close a deal and I needed $5 million in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I called 3 people, but I was introduced to these people from my network. And one guy said, I got you. In 2 weeks, you are $5 million and closed the deal.
That's amazing.
But I can't say it was me. Like you said, it was a team. Together, everyone accumulates money.
Yeah.
But you can't be afraid to go out and remove that ego. Like, yeah, I was ashamed. I felt like, you know, but the whole thing, you just got to yell for help. Like, why not talk to people that can help you introduce you to your future self? So how do you overcome hurdles, man?
The only way out of it is through it. You just got to push your way through. And, you know, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Hey, man, so thanks, Stash, for joining us, man. That was a lot of insight that you shared with us. Look, if you enjoyed what you watched, please hit the like button and subscribe and share with somebody you know that needs this. And just remember, you're just one big deal away. Peace.